So I'm here to talk about Star Fox Guard, which is a very odd game. It's not a Star Fox game. It says it's a Star Fox game. There are characters from Star Fox like Slippy, and occasionally the rest of the Star Fox team chip in. But it's not a Star Fox game. It's an entirely different beast, which is understandable because it once was called Project Guard, and it was announced a few years ago at E3 and then disappeared without trace. And looking at early gameplay from that version, it remains pretty much unchanged. It's had a few tweaks, but it's mainly the same game that was unveiled a few years ago. So the way it works is you're sort of looking through these CCTV screens. You have 12 of them on your TV, and they are feeds for 12 different cameras. Each one has a gun attached to it, and you're basically looking after a base. There are robots that are trying to attack your base, and you need to basically look at these camera feeds, see where the enemies pop in, and switch those cameras using the gamepad and shoot. Pretty simple, really. I mean, it sounds very, very, very simple when I explain it in those sort of terms. The reality, it's anything but. The gameplay is relatively simple, but it gets frantic. It's like digital plate spinning. It starts off really slowly in terms of, it might give you a little bot to shoot every now and then kind of by the end of the game, you're sort of dealing with so many bots coming at you. You have to sort of prioritise in your mind which enemies you have to fight, and which ones you can just leave to the side for a little bit and deal with them later. It's lots of stuff going on. It requires a lot of quick thinking eventually. So the entire conceit of this game is that you are working for Slippy Toad's Uncle Grippy, and he has a precious metals mining corporation stationed on various planets in the Lilac system, and the whole idea is basically there is an unknown rival attacking these bases, trying to put Grippy out of business, and you're sort of like the security guard that's keeping everything in check and making sure that the bases don't get overrun with robots and explode. So there are two types of robots. There are chaos droids. They are meant to basically distract you, keep you occupied. They're not really too difficult to defeat. They're just sort of annoyances that are made to distract you from the other bots, which are the combat bots. Now they're the ones that are basically going to go to the centre of your base and attack the core and basically end your game. Now there are all sorts of different types of robots in both those classes, but those are the two main classes. And it's quite clever how some of them work. So you might have these very tiny Goomba-like droids in the beginning that you're chaos droids, and they'll come along. They might they might attack your cameras and put them offline for a few minutes, which is something that happens if your camera gets hit too many times. It will go offline. It will eventually reboot, but it does take a while. But then you also sort of start getting these combat bots, and they take a few more hits. So you start off with these ones where they look like Johnny Fives, basically. You have to beat them twice. You have to hit them twice. You attack them once, and the top half jumps off and starts scuttling along the floor, and then you have to shoot that part. But it starts getting a lot more complicated. You start getting these combat droids that have shields on, so you can only hit them from behind. So basically you then have to keep switching your cameras to whatever view you can get from behind the droid and start shooting them from behind and avoiding the shield. So it's very clever in that respect. There's lots of sorts of things it does. Enemies start getting really devious along the way. You have like these chicken guys that they basically steal your camera and walk along with it until you kill them. You've got another droid that has a magnet that basically messes around with the directions of half of your cameras. And of course, if your camera's looking the wrong way, you can't see what enemies are coming at you. So you've really got to take those guys out quickly. There's all sorts of things like that. It's so clever. It's so simple. It's utter Twitch game. There's a little bit of strategy involved at the start. Before you start getting the bots attack you, you've got you've got an infinite amount of time to basically strategize how you're going to defend your base. You can put your cameras wherever you like. You just pick them up with the stylus on the gamepad and then put them down. You can choose what way they're facing. You also get these special camera drones where basically you can give them sort of a weapon. So you might have one that can lock on to enemies, another one that will slow down gameplay while you're firing, another one that will freeze enemies so you can shatter them with other guns. and things like that. And there's only so many of those you can put in. Initially, you can only put one of those special guns in at the beginning, but then you can unlock further slots and other weapons and things like that. And the reason you unlock these things by going up ranks, which you do by getting points for finishing each level. So all pretty basic stuff really. You'll go along, you'll go up a rank, you'll get an extra mission, or you'll get a bonus power up. And once the game begins, you can actually move around your cameras as well, just in case, because you may need to. There may be that an enemy has knocked one of them over, and you've got to pick it up and drag it to somewhere where it's a bit more of use. Also, if you find that your strategy is failing, it's quite a good way to just mess around with it on the fly and get in a better position. There's a lot of learning going on when you're doing these, setting up the cameras at the beginning. It does actually show you where more enemies are going to come down to, so you have your little sort of like these little enemy icons, and the more of those stacked around the entrance to your bases, the more enemies are going to come that way. So you can kind of use that to plan in advance, so I'll know whether to put the slow motion one in right in front of a big massive array of enemies that are going to appear. So the game is basically set up. You have planets, and on those planets there are 3 bases and a boss battle. Each of the 3 bases, they have 3 normal missions each, and normally about 3 extra missions that you can lock as you go along. And the idea is you clear 3 missions, go on to the next base, 3 missions, next base, 3 missions, and then you tackle a boss, which is just a giant enemy that you have to contend with, along with normally other bots that are trying to distract you as well. And there are sorts of other things you have to figure about, trying to kill them, different weak spots, and they have different attacks, things like that, usual kind of boss stuff. And admittedly, it's not the longest game. It's quite like Star Fox Zero in that you can go from A to B relatively quickly, just in a few hours. But the bulk of the game is, of course, reaching up to higher ranks, unlocking more stuff, unlocking more missions, finishing all those extra missions. And that's going to take you quite a while. There's at least 50 missions in the game. Most of the missions, just about 5 minutes long. So it's a kind of game you can just dip in and out of, which is always quite nice to play. It's not too tough, but I mean it does get pretty frantic near the end. Some of the extra missions are quite tough as well. You've really got to work on your reflexes. There's a lot of, if you kind of die, rethinking your strategy. If you do die, it actually gives you a replay of if your entire run through. It sort of gives you like a timeline of when enemies are coming in and getting destroyed, and you can sort of use that to think, oh well, okay, I died there, maybe I can put a different gun there and that'll work better for me. So it's, it's really good for that. Lots of replay value in just terms of getting your strategy just right. If that wasn't enough, there's sort of a faux online multiplayer mode going on where you can actually set up your own squad of bots. So you can choose what colour they are, or you can choose your own little logo for your profile, and that will appear on the robots' bodies. And then what you can do is you can also set up. You take any mission in the game, every fort in the game, you can set up a attack pattern for. And what it involves is you sort of drag your stylus, use your stylus to kind of put the whatever droids you want where. There's a limit to how many you can have. As you go through the main game, you'll earn more and more of those slots to put enemies in, and once you've done all those, you can choose. You can even get down to choosing what route they take, which is quite clever, because you can really mess around and play with that for quite a while. And then what you can do is, when you've done all that, you can upload it, and other people can try and defend their bases from your army. And if they do that, they can win points. Or if they fail to defend from your army, you'll get points as well. And you can those count in terms of your total for the main game, so that will help raise your ranks and get more guns and other missions and things like that. So there is actually a purpose for doing it. It does give you some sort of virtual reward for playing that multiplayer game. It's clever. It's not going to might not keep you glued to the screen, but it's very good at telling you who's tried to take on your army, or people will challenge you as well, so you can kind of take on their armies as well. There's a ranking system in players where it starts you off with 20,000 points, and that will raise and lower depending on whether you win or lose. Always good fun, really. It's a silly little thing. It's not essential to the game, but I'm sort of glad they put it in there. Just gives you something a bit extra to do. It kind of breaks things up a little bit, and as I say, you do get ranks for doing that as well, so there is a purpose. And I'm generally enjoying Star Fox Guard. Does it need to be a Star Fox game? No. Not even close. Like, it's other than the kind of cutscenes with Slippy and Grippy and Star Fox and that lot, you wouldn't even know this was a Star Fox game. Nothing's really labelled as such. You can call in the Star Fox team by scanning your amiibo. You can do that once per day, and they'll come in and destroy all the enemies, and off you go, which is quite useful if you're struggling on a level. But most of the time, it's not really important that Star Fox stuff is there. It's fine. I think if it encourages people to try this game out, then I'm all for it. But it's not important. It doesn't really matter. It's not a Star Fox game. It's just this kind of weird, quirky experiment that Nintendo have, rightly so, just put the name on there just to get a bit of attention. Because otherwise, I don't think it would get quite so much attention, because it's a very experimental game. It's very weird. It's just a little downloadable eShop title. Essentially, it just gets elevated because A, it's Star Fox, and B, it's included with the first print run of the Star Fox Zero game as well. But it's really good, actually. I was expecting something a little bit, I don't know, a little bit light, a little bit lacking substance, and this is a bit more of that. There is substance there. There is some really good Twitch gameplay, some really challenging levels. It's very quirky. It's, as I say, like, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's a little bit repetitive, but because the levels are so short, and it's really made for diving in and out, it doesn't, you don't get bored that easily. There's definitely a case of one more go with this, especially when you almost finish a level by defeating all the combat bots in a level, and then it finishes it, and then you'll always get this situation where you'll basically only just beat levels by the skin of your teeth. Like, you'll be tackling like the one last bot, and just as he's about to go for your base, and that's a really good feeling. It's quite nice to play a Nintendo game that's just so tense. It's almost quite frightening at times. It's very easy to get panicked, and it's different. It's interesting. It's the type of game I like to see Nintendo do, because it's not what you expect from them. It's not what you expect from anybody, for that matter. But it's a nice download title, well worth checking out. Even if you don't like Star Fox, this is sort of like a separate entity. And if you like the idea of this sort of kind of Twitch gameplay, reacting, plate spinning kind of stuff, definitely worth a look. As I say, it's completely unconnected to Star Fox. And if you've never played Star Fox and you play this, it doesn't really matter. There's nothing really to understand. And for that reason, it's worth a check. But of course, you can check out my review on godisgeek.com for a bit more information about what I thought about this game, including my full review and score and all that jazz. Thank you very much for watching this video about Star Fox Guard. As always, you can subscribe to the God is a Geek YouTube channel, because we do videos all the time, loads of videos, sometimes more than one day. We're busy lot. We're a very, very busy lot. If you really like us and you really want to make our videos even better, you can actually contribute to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/godisgeek. And if you go there, you can donate a bit of money and get a little bit extra. Get some stuff early, get extra videos, and know that you'll be helping us make the very best videos we can. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you around.
Should have backed the God is a Geek Patreon.